Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Thursday, October 2nd, 2014. I am Dan Rubin. It's Thursday, so it's Thursdays with Wiltfong. Steve Wiltfong, the 24/7 Sports Recruiting Guru, will be here to discuss Chris Clark, the tight end who likes college recruiting a great deal. Jerome Baker, the Florida commitment who hails from Cleveland and may be ultimately expected to land in Columbus, and Alex Stump, the wide receiver from St. Ed's in Cleveland, who's committed to Kentucky, but also could end up in Columbus. So without further ado, here comes Steve.
As promised, and if it's Thursday, that means Steve Wiltfong will be joining us. Steve, from the road in Nashville, handling some business. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. What's going on, Dan?
We'll try and keep this a tad shorter than usual. The BM5 with Steve usually turns into about the BM13, but we'll try and land this baby as close to 5 minutes as possible. Okay, 3 topics. First, Chris Clark. You thought the name wasn't going to come back. Now with Brady Hoke on a hot seat that is quite hot. Starting to hear Clark's name again. Do you see Clark as a possibility to get back into the fold for Ohio State, and then maybe quickly touch on what you're hearing about Michigan recruiting in general in light of the issues they're dealing with?
Obviously, Ohio State's landed a couple commits at the position that Chris Clark plays since Chris chose Michigan over the Buckeyes back in July or June. So I'm not sure where he falls into place with Ohio State right now. Obviously, they liked him a lot. He was the top guy on their board early, but they've gotten some pretty good players that can play that position in this class. But anytime I hear a school and I hear Chris Clark's name, I just say, okay, because I think that anything can happen with this young man. And he's a good kid. He's a good player. But the recruiting process, he's obviously been excited about several schools. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's excited about a couple schools we're not talking about right now moving forward leading up to National Signing Day.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm sure he's got a lot of awesome gear, though, from this recruitment. Second name, and I've been wanting to talk to you about this for a while. Earlier in the week, you flipped your crystal ball for a certain major Ohio State target who was committed elsewhere, Jerome Baker. Tell us the latest. And why you made your flip.
Well, I spoke with Jerome. I spoke with Jerome's mother, and I spoke with Jerome's father on Sunday morning after the visit, and they had some time to digest things and think about the visit the night before. And there's no question where Jerome's parents would like to see their son. Now, they're not going to push him to Ohio State, but when Jerome goes and talks to his parents about the college decision process, they want him to go to Ohio State. So, Ohio State's got that working for him. The dad, I asked the dad if Ohio State was truly in play following the visit, and he said something along the lines of, well, between Urban Meyer and my wife, yeah. So you got Urban Meyer recruiting Jerome Baker hard, but then you got Mrs. Baker recruiting Jerome Baker, apparently, according to her husband. So there's still no question Jerome really likes Florida. He's really tight with his recruiter from Florida in DJ Durkin. And so Coach Durkin is going to be tough to beat, but there's a lot of things going in Ohio State's favor. And, talking to both parents and talking to Jerome, I just think it's setting up nicely for Ohio State.
Add in the fact that Will Muschamp is on a hot seat, maybe not as hot as Brady Hoke, and it certainly makes for some interesting coverage going forward. All right, last question. Alex Stump, the wide receiver from St. Ed's, is committed to Kentucky. He's had a very eventful last few weeks. Finally got the offer from Ohio State and sounded really pumped about it, but also has a knee injury that sidelined him for the season. Alex Stump, do you see him going from Kentucky to Ohio State when it's all said and done?
Well, I do. I flipped immediately. I think that was the offer he always wanted. But now it's just a matter of him deciding, all right, Kentucky has loved me from the beginning. I know that staff well. I've been there many times. Or do I go to Ohio State, the place I always wanted to play but didn't have the opportunity until recently. So that's what he's juggling. But I like Ohio State right now. I could see him staying with Kentucky, but I think ultimately he'll end up flipping.
All right, quick bonus one. You got me thinking about Kentucky. What's your vibe right now this morning as you sit there in Nashville on Damian Harris?
Well, I think that Kentucky's very much right there with Ohio State. I could see him at both places. My 24/7 Sports crystal ball says Ohio State, but I honestly think about it every day. And that's how close it is. I mean, it's a tight race. Damian Harris has been to Kentucky close to 10 times now. And I know covering Matt Elam, the amount of in-state pressure a young man can receive from media to attend Kentucky. Sometimes it's just hard to say no, not saying that that's why Elam chose Kentucky. I'm just saying I witnessed Kentucky reporters ask Matt Elam questions in person, and it was almost like leading the witness to the Wildcats.
Sure.
Right. There's a lot of things going in Kentucky's favor. They're exciting right now. But Ohio State, they've been a top school for Damian Harris for a long time. They were number 2 when he chose Michigan. They moved to number 1. They've been number 1 at a point in this process. I know for a fact they've been number 1 at a point in this process. No one's told me Kentucky's number 1, but I've been told Kentucky's certainly right there at this point. So, we'll see. He's going to take those other visits. Maybe Alabama, Florida, or A&M blows him away. But as of right now, I can't see him going anywhere but Kentucky and Ohio State. And Urban Meyer's going to get his opportunity to go in that home and talk to Damian and his family. And Coach Hinton's been recruiting Damian for a long, long time. So if Damian doesn't choose Ohio State, he's going to have a tough time telling him no. But the same goes for Kentucky.
It's Thursday. It's Steve Wiltfong. It's the best update you can get on recruiting anywhere. Sure, it comes in a little more than 5 minutes, but come on, people. All right, Bucknutters, let's have a good one.